pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I will turn my microphone on. All right, and now we'll have roll call.
Broadway.
Here.
Howdesheld.
Here.
Joyner.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Okay, full house.
Great, and our first agenda item is the approval of minutes of the January 24th, 2024 meeting. Are there any changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
And do we need roll call for each?
You do.
This is, so, move approval, unanimous consent. Next, we'll have agenda review by our Executive Director, Matt Click.
Chair, agenda remains unchanged, no action required.
All right. And then, Matt, would you give us the AB 2449 update?
All members are present in person, no action required, sir.
All right. This is a point in the agenda where we open it for public comment. Those joining us by Zoom webinar can signal they wish to speak by clicking the raised hand button located on the middle bottom portion of the Zoom webinar window. If you're joining over the phone, you can press *9. Do we have any individuals who want to make public comment? All right. All right. Next, we'll go to the consent calendar. We have 2 items on the consent calendar: the SPRTA audited Transportation Development Act compliance and the amendment to the temporary construction easement for Interstate 80 auxiliary lanes. Do we have any comments on the consent calendar? Any questions about the consent calendar?
No.
Any comments or any public comment? I'm going to get a motion on the consent calendar.
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say
Aye.
Aye.
opposed, abstain. Our next item is approve the First Amendment to the amended and restated joint exercise of powers agreement for SPRTA. Rick Carter, our Deputy Executive Director, will give us a presentation.
Good morning, Chair and board members. Just a little brief background on the JPA. So the first JPA agreement was in 2002, and it created SPRTA for the purposes of constructing transportation improvements, gave it a variety of powers to do that. It was amended in 2003 to give SPRTA the power to lease and sublease property. Has not been amended since 2003. In 2021, the state passed Assembly Bill 602 that affected some of the regulations related to development fee, impact fee programs. One of those was to require a 60-day waiting period for any increase in a fee. And unfortunately, that conflicts with our historic practice and some of the things that are laid out in that JPA agreement, which I'll get into in the next slide. But with that change, we looked at the JPA agreement and to make changes because of AB 602. And then in looking at it, we just identified some additional amendments based on current needs and practices. So I'll go over those in the next couple of slides. So as I mentioned, AB 602 required a 60-day wait period. So the JPA document itself states that we will use the April to April construction cost index values when doing annual inflation adjustments. So we've typically adopted those changes in May, and they become effective July 1st, which is when all of the agencies kind of do their annual fee update. Because of that 60-day wait, it would really push that into August. And so what we've done with the JPA is change the dates. And instead of having an April to April, we just referred to the most currently available CCI and said we want that to be effective July 1st. That language mostly mirrors what the county does, the county language. As I mentioned, we identified some other changes. So there was changes kind of related to construction responsibility and the transfer of funds and boundaries for projects. So the current JPA limits construction responsibility and transfer of funds just to the member agencies, except for work on Placer Parkway and transit projects. It also says that improvements must be located in the members' respective jurisdictions. But SPRTA does fund work on Caltrans facilities, right? 8065, 8065. So we've amended the language to allow Caltrans to be responsible for construction and to receive the SPRTA funds for state highway projects. We also amended the language, instead of saying located in the members' respective jurisdictions, to benefiting the members' respective jurisdictions. That will allow work, if you're doing work on a project such as the Placer Parkway interchange the county is doing, if that encroaches into, say, the city of Rockland, there's no kind of issues related to that. The last set of changes are purely administrative and reviewing it. There's a variety of practices that we currently have that don't exactly follow what's in the JPA. Currently, the JPA says we elect the chair annually from the membership. The reality is we elect a chair and a vice chair, so we added the vice chair to that. It also says that we select the secretary annually. It notes the secretary need not be a member. The reality is Solvi, as our board clerk, also functions as our secretary. We don't go through the process of formally adopting the clerk as the secretary every year, so we basically struck the annual requirement. If the board wants to select someone else, they can, but we don't need to bring this to the board every year with the change. And the last change is it requires that we meet at least quarterly. We typically do, but there have been times in the past where there's just been nothing on the SPRTA agenda that we've gone more than 3 months. And so we have changed that to semi-annually, just to follow kind of historic practice. So the action requested today is basically to approve those amendments and then to send this to the member agencies for their approval and execution. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions of staff?
No questions.
All right, any questions from the public?
I'm not able to allow Mike to speak.
Good morning. Am I on board?
You are.
Thank you. Michael Garabedian, Placer County Tomorrow and Pacific to American Divide. I have a number of concerns about that. Well, a question and concerns. I'd like to know what the notification has been to any part of the public about these changes. What official notice or any kind of notice or involvement of the public there has been and is, other than this particular meeting where I'm speaking. The language about allowing improvement to extend beyond the members' respective boundaries. I guess that means, I think that means beyond the boundaries of the entities you represent, though it's a little confusing because you have a Board of Supervisors member who would seem to be have the entire county, or maybe that just means the supervisor member's own district. It's a little confusing what that means, and what the purpose is there. It seems that it might be a situation where you're getting involved in other cities in the county, or it could be interpreted in a number of ways. So I think that the changes in Placer County that have been happening in recent years suggest a more a significant review. I mean, in a way, Placer County is rapidly becoming something you could call Placer City. I mean, it's not incorporated, but the county is growing like crazy, providing municipal services all over the place. And it kind of it calls into question the definition of this body, why it was limited to what it was, and why it's needed and dependent from the PCTPA. Why there are two different bodies. I think that this needs more analysis and more explanation. Partly depending on what the what your explanation is in answer to my questions. I mean, the fact that the county is becoming like a giant city, at least in West Placer County, suggests that the structure of South Placer, and talking just specifically about generally South Placer, and now the existence of the Placer County Conservation Plan, with its said to be 450 square miles, I mean, it suggests that the entire structure may be, these considerations should be looked at in terms of any changes. So those are my concerns, comments, and questions.
Well, Michael, thank you for your diligence in following these agendas. I'll ask staff if there was, besides the posting, the normal posting of the agendas, if there was any particular outreach that,
Yeah, there besides the regular posting, there was not public outreach related to this. The JPA is a agreement between the three cities and the county. It will be going to the three cities and the county for their councils or the board to take action on. From a technical standpoint, SPRTA is not actually a signatory to this because it's an agreement between the three cities and the county. They create SPRTA. So from that aspect, we're just bringing it to the board as a opportunity for the board itself to comment and approve on that, and then it's the agencies to adopt it.
with respect to outside the jurisdiction, do you have any clarifications or comments?
Yeah, regarding that, so when we were reviewing and making changes to this, we sent it to the SPRTA Legal Counsel for review and comment, and that change was specifically recommended by our legal counsel, pointing out a couple of things. As it's worded, the initial reasoning for that was in looking at the changes to allow Caltrans to build projects and receive funds, and some question about what actually qualifies as a jurisdictional boundary. And as much as the state highway, say, runs through a city or a county, is it city or county jurisdiction? Because they don't tend to have jurisdictions over state facilities. So part of that became benefiting. And then the other thing that was recognized is, for example, the Placer Parkway interchange, the county is building that, but it does, portions of that come into the city of Rockland. And so if we're funding it, if the county is funding that, is it in their jurisdiction? Is it in adjacent jurisdiction? Those sorts of things. And benefiting was felt to be the proper term to use for that.
All right, makes sense to me. Does that prompt any questions from board members?
It does not.
Okay, great. Anyone else wishing to provide comment on this? Okay, I will bring it back to the board and ask what the pleasure of the JPA board is.
Move approval of the item.
Second.
All right, we have a motion.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Abstained. Okay. And then this will be circulated because I noticed the previous JPA is, the signatures on there is like a history lesson, right? And the late Kathy Lund's on there, some folks I can't recognize their names, so. Anyway, all right, we'll move to the next item, and Rick, I think you have the next item as well. This is Highway 49 sidewalk. Oh, no, okay. That's an information item, sorry. Matt, may we have your report?
My report is nothing else to report, Chair.
Okay. Let me find my agenda again. Make sure we're in the same place. All right. Hang on. We have no direction to board staff. We have a number of informational items, which include minutes from the 13th and the 12th board meeting. We have the statement of the net position and our next regularly scheduled meeting. Can I see your agenda for a second? Yeah, so would you make a correction on your agendas that the next regularly scheduled SPRTA board meeting will be April 24th? And with that, we are adjourned.